Tim O'Brien, on that note, we start with you.
Well, he's a lawyer's worst nightmare under oath, Nicole, because he won't stay on a script. He's a serial fabulist. He exaggerates. He lies with reckless abandon. And all of those things are a recipe normally for a disaster in a deposition, which is typically why his attorneys don't want to put him in front of other lawyers. It's why they don't want him to testify under oath. And it's why it's dangerous when he gets out into the wild on his own. He may recognize the stakes in this recent round of depositions that he's had to endure because he's in a different place now than he was 10, 15, 20 years ago. But he can't really avoid the fact that the reason he's a time bomb in a deposition is because of exactly who he is. And that can't really be coached out of him by his attorneys. When we deposed him, we had bank documents and business records, tax records that we were able to just push across the table to him when he lied about something from his past. And we caught him in dozens of lies during our deposition. I think Robbie Kaplan, who is the lead attorney in E. Jean Carroll's case, is a very savvy and tough-minded lawyer. He's not going to be sitting across the table from people who want to play patty cake with him or are going to be deferential to him. He has tried to use, I think, the shield of the presidency to delay this moment and protect himself from it. I think if he had nothing to hide, he wouldn't be going to those extremes. And now he's going to be under, I think, the harsh glare of a deposition, and there's a very strong chance it won't go well for him.
Harry Litman, I remember when we were all covering and analyzing the Mueller investigation, Donald Trump tweeting with some frequent, he did it pretty regularly, that he would love to sit down with Robert Mueller and answer his questions. And I remember hearing at the time from folks like Chris Christie and Rudy Giuliani that they would lay their body down on the train tracks before they would let Trump sit down and lie, perjure himself. What is the legal tightrope that he and his legal team are walking today in this deposition?
You know, it is what Tim said. You have to answer questions of all sorts, by the way. As Tim points out, Kaplan's a very smart lawyer, and a deposition, you can ask anything as long as it could lead to relevant evidence. For example, maybe about other accusations against Trump. That's his normal tightrope. I think the tightrope is sort of cut already. He has really put himself into a corner because he came out just a week ago and reiterated every nasty, churlish thing he had said about Carroll before. So now he's lost the kind of recourse of saying, well, I'm not sure, I don't recall, et cetera. You don't recall, Mr. Trump? A week ago, you seem to recall. I think he is really forced into what is at best for him, a he said, she said, but it could be a lot worse. If she has any evidence, she, for instance, kept the original dress 30 years ago, but they've asked for his DNA. And if she has any evidence that he is lying, it will go to a jury. Remember what happened to Alex Jones just last week? That was a defamation case. A jury that disbelieves him can really hammer him. And unlike the sort of political posturing that he's just repeated in different settings before, here we're talking about a real civil suit with a real possible price tag at the end. And he's really left himself very little out. So he's in a tight spot.
Harry, if a jury hears this case, could you introduce into evidence his bragging about the act under scrutiny? I grab him in the you-know-what when you're famous, they let you do it?
That'll be a ruling for Judge Kaplan, no relation, who has that's the trial if it goes forward. And by the way, it's more likely to go forward now because there's this whole skirmish about does the White House represent him. But now that he's re-upped and said the same thing, they will sue again. Could you put that in? A judge would make that in a judge's discretion. And this judge has lost patience with Trump. When he ordered Trump to sit for this deposition today, he said, you've delayed unconscionably, et cetera. So I think they'll move for it. And yeah, I think the odds are pretty decent. Same thing with other kinds of assaults and other accusations. It could be used to prove his intent here. So that this if and when it goes to trial, very precarious. He would normally settle as his last recourse here, but Jean Carroll says, I will never settle with them. This is, it might be a year from now, but it is a very tight spot.
So this very tight spot, Luke Broadwater, is exactly where the January 6th Select Committee would like to place a twice impeached ex-president named Donald J. Trump. Talk about what you understand to be the timeline for the subpoena.
Right. I'm hearing it will probably come tomorrow now. The committee is working. The committee's lawyers have been working ever since that vote to put together an airtight subpoena. Some of the things that involves include exactly what the request will be to Donald Trump, exactly what kind of documents they want from him, specific communications with specific individuals. As you know, some of the subpoenas contain similar information, but many of them are different in this investigation. And since Donald Trump is so central to the investigation, they're taking extra time and extra precaution to make sure they have the request just so. They're also talking about when exactly to ask him to come in. And another complication is actually finding out which is the right lawyer to serve the subpoena to. Donald Trump has so many so many lawyers on different legal teams. Many of them disagree with each other. Some of them, I understand, do not want to take the subpoena. And so they're trying to figure out exactly who the right person is to serve with this subpoena. But I think it will probably come tomorrow, but that is still tentative.